Christian heavy metal band back from the
I
80s.
remember them.
Yep.
And man, they rocked it. They spread the good word. They threw out miniature Bibles to the crowd, which is always really cool. I didn't get one, but it was a good show. Had a great time.
Let me say this about that. If anybody out there ever needs a Bible, let me know. I will hook you up. That's what we do. And we're glad to have the Weasel on with us tonight as well. How you doing, Scotsman?
Doing good, man. Good to be here. Good to see everyone out there in the side chat. And if you haven't already checked out giveaway, we got a giveaway for our very own JH586. So make sure you check that out and get your VRs in, and let's get this man up to 1,000 subscribers. He deserves it more than anyone else I know for sure. So let's make that happen. Mark, what you got going on, man?
Oh, I've been having a good week. We had testing going on at school, so there were 2 days I didn't have anything I had to do. I was able to take off. I have enough sick time, and I spent both of those mornings in the woods turkey hunting. Now, no luck turkey hunting, but I had a amazing encounter with a bobcat, and I posted the video. Most of you have seen it.
That was a
That was
cool
just-
video.
That was a once in a lifetime thing, and I was super excited that I could catch it on
I love the
camera.
little tail. The little
Yeah.
tail that was funny.
I kept it. I brought it home.
Yep.
And on the way home from that hunting trip, I stopped in a shop and brought myself home a new 44. Well, new to me.
Nice.
Yep. Got it out for a little test run, and boy, she bucks. But it's going to be a fun one. It's kind of rough, and I've been thinking about it. I think I'm gonna use it a little while, and then I'm gonna tear it down, and I'm gonna re-blue the whole thing. Or I might think about having it Cerakoted. I don't know about that.
Send
Well,
it to
Well,
Ruger.
have a good time with it, sir.
Yeah, Ruger's an option too. They'll refinish it for you.
Well, that could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they will.
it's awfully
A
nice
bullet?
to leave it looking like that. Ruger Blackhawk,
Super.
Super Blackhawk.
Well,
And,
glad you're here.
Got 2 molds coming for it tomorrow. Both Lee, 2 cavities. One's a 240 grain, I think, and the other's a 310. Nice big flat noses on them.
Very
Oh,
cool.
you got the hog leg mold coming.
That 310's a good hunting bullet.
Yeah. And that'll give me an excuse. Maybe I'll buy a rifle.
And you gotta have 329421. That's the Keith design. You just gotta get that. I mean,
Yeah, I'll be getting it.
it's blasphemy to have a 44 Magnum and not own that mold. But we'll talk about that later. Hillbilly up. Glad you're here, bro.
Hey, man, I'm glad I'm here. I thank you for having me on, guys. I just enjoy this and look forward to it every Friday night. Just awesome panel and always a rocking side chat. It's so much fun. I did post a video earlier. It's kind of is this guy. He's kind of like got the ZZ top beard and stuff. And anyway, he's like got some stuff coming up. I think we're gonna have like a big giveaway or something. So if you get a chance, check out that video, and I think you'll like it. And the guy's name actually, what was it? JH something.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The Weasel's doing weaselly things again.
Yes, he is.
Golly, y'all really humbled me.
Gotta
Scotsman
love
was
it.
on the
Gotta
ball,
love it.
man. And
I keep
anyway,
getting unsubscribed to you people, and it's always the people that are on this panel. Have to go back and resubscribe.
Yep.
And y'all seen a lot of my messages on your videos. Yep, kick me off again. You know? Oh,
oh my goodness, yeah, and that does happen, man. They unsubscribe you so many times. it wasn't very long ago. I was looking at a video I knew Gene had done. I went over and looked. I wasn't subscribed to Gene again, you know, and I'm like, shoot.
What?
And so every time I go on there, I make sure I'm subscribed when I, you know, watch videos, you know, because you get unsubscribed.
Yeah, I'm still subscribed to you. I just got the notification for your video, actually.
Yeah, and I was subscribed to you too. I just happened to notice the other day when I went on there to watch that video that it didn't show me subscribed, and so I had to subscribe again. But anyway, yeah, we got a lot of great stuff coming up on the show. We got our live tomorrow night, you know. So I just appreciate you guys having me here, and I'll pass it on over to my jailbird on my left here. I keep sending him files and collecting money for his bail, but you know, I don't know how we're going to get this man out of jail.
Got to hide it in a cake,
Yeah, files.
chocolate.
Hacksaw blade to get him out quicker. Our new nickname for Walter is Otis.
Otis.
He gets put in YouTube jail every Saturday night. Glad you're here, Walter.
I appreciate the invitation to be here. You know, it's something I honestly look forward to every Friday night. It's just a highlight of the week to get in here and chit chat with everybody on the panel and to see all the old friends out there in the side chat. It's just a real thrill for me. As Jamie mentioned, I'm back in YouTube jail for the Moldy Monday series. I went back and deleted about 40 videos from my current channel because their attack mode is the same as they did last year when they deleted my whole channel. They gave me 2 quick strikes, gave me a couple days rest, and came back and said sayonara. So I deleted everything that had anything to do with bullet casting or reloading. I'm going to put that stuff back up, but it with mostly just be an announcement. Hey, here's where you can go see the whole thing, which would be over on my Rumble channel. All my content is still over there, but they're getting real challenging to try to figure out what they really don't want to see. And I think mostly it's this mug right here. I think they're just sick of me.
We're both parolees, sir.
Yeah.
I guess your new nickname is Dirty Otis.
Dirty Otis, there we are, man.
Otis,
I need a shave and a shower.
change the email that your Google account is associated with.
Oh yeah, I've already done that. And one thing for all you other content creators out there is I went back and studied the rules again, even though I thought I had them down. And they do have a rule that says you can't have a clickable link to an outside source that contains content that violates YouTube's policy. So if you have a Rumble channel and you put a clickable link either up in your About section or in the description of your video, they can bite you on that. And that may be what got me. So I went back and deleted all. I had half a dozen videos of that, and I fixed that. So I think they'll find something anyway. And my channel is probably going to go down. But if it does, we shall rise again. So happy to be here, everybody. And let's go back upstairs and give it back to Jamie and introduce your special guest to us.
I want to introduce my buddy Sean Goggins. He's a relatively new member of Christian Motorcyclist Association. He is just getting started reloading, and I'm going to loan him my Lee turret press until he sees fit to do something different. And next time we get together, I'll bring that to you, Sean. And
thank you.
And I'm looking forward to what you're going to reload. And we're going to talk to Sean a little bit more later in the show. You're here surrounded by very veteran reloaders, Sean. At any point in time you have any questions, let me know. You can go up there to what they call the private chat, and you can enter a question there. and I'll see it. And as soon as I can, I'll get that question answered for y'all. So y'all guys be sweet to Sean. You guys in the side chat. The panel has already welcomed him very warmly. Yeah, they already started picking on him. So there's that.
I was gonna say, in other words, give him hell, folks. Give him hell.
Right
But
on.
Sean is going to be a big benefit to our community. I think. I hope he hangs around after tonight. Uh, there you go, Sean. That's what I'm. That's what I'm going to be loaning you. And
Nice.
he's going to be he'll make a decision what press he wants to start with, and when he does, uh, he can return my Lee press to me or not, whatever.
Sean, what
Yes,
flavor are you gonna be reloading?
What am I going to be reloading?
Yeah.
The caliber.
45, 44, 9mm, 44
Pick-
special.
Pick one. Pick one to start.
Yeah.
If you're new,
I got
reloading,
some
pick-
dies
pick
I can
one.
lend. I must have 8 sets of dies for 44.
Yeah.
So
So it'll be
I'll
up
try a
between,
set of
Yeah.
dies.
too,
I'll
brother.
send you some.
44
live
and
that-
45.
You don't live too far from me, so I'll hook you up too.
Thank you. Yeah, I was able to locate some primers over at Adventure Outdoors the other day.
That would be important. And
Yeah.
what I started to say is Sean's going to be a benefit to the community in that he is an insurance salesman, but his side hustle is U.S. Law Shield. So, am I saying that right, Sean?
Yes. Yes, you are.
So, any questions about carry insurance or anything like that? He's your huckleberry. So hit him up, and
Thank you.
I'm gonna be getting with him about some of that shortly myself.
One of the great things about having new reloaders here in the Georgia Shooting Connection is that it makes all of us who've been doing it for a while stand back and think about what our practices really are, what makes our practices good practices, and what practices are not so good. You know, because sometimes we need to kind of stand back and look at ourselves before we go giving, you know, just off the cuff advice to anybody. And so it's as Jamie said, you'll be a real benefit to the entire community as we can watch and help you get started. It's going to benefit the rest of us immensely, more than you'll know, I think.
Because of the things that we take for granted that we do every day in reloading. So because we already know it, we take these things for granted, so we don't tend to think about them so much. It's like setting up your powder charge. You know, you go through the process 1,000 times. After a while, you just do it, and you don't even think about what you're doing because it becomes mechanical.
Well, and that's
It's-
the
and
thing,
it's good to
Buck,
be
you know
reminded.
that, right? You know, he's gonna bring something to it too, because he's gonna have questions, and those questions might be something we haven't thought about for years. You know, we've all been doing this for quite some time now. So when you breaks down and you have someone brand new pop in, those questions are good to have because it kind of brings that refresh back to you as well.
Exactly. It's like rinse and repeat. Sean, are you thinking about casting your own bullets or?
I haven't gone that far yet.
Okay.
It's definitely a possibility in the future, though.
It's that opens up a whole new different wormhole,
Yeah.
and we are way more than capable of helping you down that.
Okay. Yeah.
Without a
First start
flashlight.
out with that is just watched a few videos on that.
Well, Kyle, let him get down the first wormhole first, and then we'll help
Yeah.
him in the next one.
I'll say this, and then we're going to move on to our first topic. As your brother and neighbor, I would suggest that you start with a rimmed straight wall case first, like 44 special. Get that down pat, and I'll see if I can cast you up some 44 caliber bullets. Um,
Talking
right.
of that, Jamie, I have another mold I gotta send you too, brother.
Oh.
Tactical FUD sent me 3 molds. 2 were the same mold, so I got an extra mold that's coming your way.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Don't pay any attention, Sean, to the guys talking about Jiffy Mix. It's an old running joke around here. They like to take shortcuts making their cornbread, and sweet cornbread is not okay in the South. I'm just saying, it's not. But anyway, uh, working off what Gene said, working off what Bama Dad said. Bama Dad said, "Don't get in a hurry." Walter said, "It makes us." Oh no! Helping the new guys makes us re-examine ourselves, and
Damn it, Walter.
I think. And Gene said we get mind numb to the process. I think the first thing to remember is, and when it comes to reloading, your worst enemy is complacency. You work yourself into a complacent state of mind, and but that being said, let's attack our first. Thank you, Trapper. That's a Georgia boy right there. No Jiffy cornbread mix. We wanted to talk tonight, and we've been trying to get to this for the last 3 weeks. One of our viewers had talked to CW about us discussing compressed loads. And I'll start and say, I don't do it. It's that simple. Anybody else got anything to say about it?
I'll go next, 'cause I'll keep it short and sweet. I don't do it either. I have no clue, and that's out of my wheelhouse. And Sean, see, this is some of the things you're gonna walk into, man. See, this we all don't know this stuff too. So, out of my wheelhouse. On to the next one.
It's a when I was working up my 308 loads, I've got a rifle that is capable of more than I am. And when I was working up my my reloads, the harder I made them, the more it liked it. And I finally got a load that it loved. And the first time I pulled the handle on that thing and you hear the powder crunching, you're like, oh. And I pulled the trigger on it and I was like, woo, that's hot. There is a purpose. It does, you know, it will, you have to have a gun that it can run in and all that. But I tell you, my 308 loves a compressed load. I don't like loading them, but that's what it likes to shoot. She's a hot and heavy girl, so.
Yeah, Kyle, I had a 308 that loved compressed loads, and I know the feeling of hearing that crunch and just going, oh man. But on the other side of it, in competitive shooting, which is what I do in USPSA, if you're loading for 9 major, which is space gun race guns, you're going to be doing compressed loads because you need that feet per second. You need that power factor to be legal with it, to make that gun run good. But these are purpose-built firearms. They're made to handle that compressed hot load.
I'll chime in before we get too far, and then I'll be quiet on it because, this is going up to Sean here. Kind of what we're talking about, Sean, with compressed loads. we're talking about filling the empty case with gunpowder so far up into the case that when the bullet is pushed down into the case, it actually has to squish the powder down and compress it as the bullet is pushed into the case. More often than that, there's a little bit of airspace between the bottom of the bullet after it's been seated into the case and the top level of the gunpowder. And since you're most likely going to start with handgun loads, I will mention that we don't often, other than in the case that our friend Gene over here mentions with handguns, compressed loads are usually not a problem. In your hand loading manuals, like the Lyman manuals, they will tell you if a charge that's listed, so many grains of powder for this particular bullet in this cartridge, they'll tell you if it's a compressed load or not, so that you'll be forewarned that, okay, you're going to have some higher pressures here, and what you experience in your handgun is going to be different than what they experienced in their testing. But most of the time with my hand loads, and I'm mostly a handgunner, okay, and I have shot rifle before, and I've done some compressed loads marginally. But with most of our handgun loads, it's not going to be a problem. There are a couple powders like 700X and Unique that are fluffy kinds of powders. And you put the correct charge in the case and you look, and the case looks like it's kind of full. But there's a lot of airspace in there, and I mean, a lot of airspace, and it's not a huge deal. But we do have to pay attention to how much powder is going into that case. You can't just cram as much as you want, because the more powder that's in there, not only do you run the risk of too high a pressure for your firearm, but sometimes weird things can happen, like the whole firearm just blows up, okay, or it fails to burn properly. All kinds of stuff can go wrong with compressed charges, but not so much of an issue with handguns. And you can look at your load data manuals from Hornady or Sierra or Spear or Nosler or Lyman or Lee or whoever, and they will usually tell you, hey, up here at this level, that's going to be a compressed charge. And personally, I stay away from them. I got arthritis. I don't need the huge kick that if you watch Mark's video that he put up with his new 44 Ruger Super Blackhawk, boom, that sucker's going way up there, and he's got four pounds over the top of his head now. I don't need that. So I intentionally stay away from those kinds of loads. So that's me. Like I said, I have done it. Varget's one that, you get up there in a 223 load, and to get a good accurate load, you're pushing the edge of doing a compressed load. And I've done a couple of them, and with no problem, no issues. And sometimes they actually shoot better and more accurately than a situation where you don't have the case completely full and maybe a little bit more. All right, that's my piece. I'm shutting up.
Okay. Compressed loads do not mean more pressure. Compressed loads are not something to be afraid of. Compressed loads are a normal part of reloading with some powders. There's basically three kinds of powders that us reloaders are going to use. We're going to see a flake powder, a ball powder, and a stick powder. Ball powders generally do not compress well. And that's because of part of what Walter touched on, and that's the airspace that's in between the flakes of powder, or the kernels, or the sticks. Ball powders being spheres or flattened spheres, we're going to call anything that's a little bit round a ball powder, whether it's a flattened ball or not. Those don't tend to compact very well, so they don't generally see compressed loads with those. What you'll find with the compressed load with a ball powder is often you'll seat your bullet and your bullet will creep back out. So you'll see it'll pop back out. And that's because ball powders don't compress well. But extruded powders, the stick powders, the lead pencil powders, they can crunch down very nicely. Flake powders, like Walter said, it's got a lot of irregular cornflake looking flakes, and there's a lot of airspace in between those as they stack in your case. One way to defeat compressed loads with extruded powders is to use a drop tube. A drop tube is something that was used a lot with the old black powder. And that what that basically is instead of just putting your funnel on top of your case and dumping your powder in, you'll have a tube, and it could be a foot long, could be 2 feet long, from the tip of your brass case to your funnel, and the powder will drop down through that long tube, and it'll position itself and it'll stack better in your casing, and you may not have a compressed load if you use the drop tube. Also, as Walter mentioned, in the manuals, most of them will tell you when you have a compressed load. Most often, it's going to be with rifle loads. You're not going to see a lot of compressed loads with pistol. Mostly it's going to be with rifle. And even then, mostly it's going to be bottleneck stuff. But it's not something to be afraid of. Just look in your manual. If you're filling your case and you throw your funnel on there, you dump your powder in, and you take your funnel off and kernels fall on your bench. All right, go back to your manual. Check your load, go back to your scale, double check everything you've done to make sure it's not you. Make sure you did not make a mistake dumping that powder and you put too much in. If everything is correct, make sure of your components. Recipes in your manuals are there for a reason. Now, most of the time, you're not going to find a great deal of difference between your manufacturers of brass, but you can. Let's say you're using 3006 or 308. And you happen to get a military case mixed in with your Remingtons, Winchester Federals. Those could indeed have different case capacities. And if they're up near full or near 100% density, you may find more powder comes out of your case or doesn't quite fit if you're using a military case. In some cases, you'll find that you're going to want to reduce that powder charge because you are going to be in a position where you're higher pressures. Unlike 223, 308 is actually lower pressure. 762 by 51 is actually lower pressure than 308. So the brass cases are a little bit thicker and they take a little bit less powder to achieve the same ballistics. So if you're loading a load in 308, whatever it may be, 45 grains of 3031, and then you dump that into a military case, you may find that load is going to be the neck, and in that case, you may want to, you're safe to reduce things and look at it, because you always want to follow your recipes that are in your manuals. And your recipe is not only powder and powder charge. It's the kind of primer, it's the kind of case, it's the kind of bullet. So want to remember all those things.
And the most important thing is have 2 different loading manuals. At least 2. That way you can compare and contrast.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, Kyle. I've got 3 reloading manuals, and I go through and I compare the data on all 3 to see if they're carrying the same powder brand or primer brand or brass brand, before I come up to my decision about what I'm going to do.
All right. On 3, are you ready?
Do we have a sighting? We have a sighting.
1, 2, 3. Hey! Hi, Mario.
Sean's like, what the are you guys doing? You want to give him a explain about that real quick?
Sean, that would be our resident Mexican, our weird coast weirdo, West Coast weirdo.
Battle Bean.
Hey, what would you
Mario
guys
and I are from
recommend?
California.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I know Sean's just flipping out right now. He don't know
So-
what just happened.
So
Mario, he pops in generally every week, and he's my brother from another mother, ex-Army, just like me, and he just pops in and says, "Hey," and so all of us have to do that. So it's been going on for 5 years now, so it happens.
Jamie, I've got a listing here that I can show in the Lyman manual and show what they say about a compressed load in a data section for the 3006.
Okay, just
So-
1 second. Let's.
Yep.
Sean had a question. Let's
Yep.
get his question. Go ahead, Sean.
It's off topic too. I was going to ask you guys how would you guys getting started go about? What would you recommend for a scale? Or to
Well,
weigh?
that's
to
a
weigh
big
the
question. A good one.
A beam scale, a mechanical beam
Yep.
scale.
Beam.
Yep.
I got all this stuff about automatic power measures and
That's down the
know,
road. That's not for
RCBS
beginners.
stuff that automatically puts it in.
Yep.
Puts it on a
No,
tray
start
and
with
A good beam
start with the
scale
basic.
from Redding or RCBS or
Yep.
I have a
Jamie will tell
Redding.
you
I'll
don't get a
log in.
lead.
Yeah, don't.
When you're starting out, Sean, a beam scale, a basic electronic scale, and just double check your charges.
Lee does not make scales.
Right. They make
They don't.
Actually,
using.
the Frankfurt Arsenal digital scale is what I started with, and I've passed it around to 6 or 7 different reloaders because I've just moved on and improved, I guess.
a good beam scale you'll never outgrow.
Yeah, they
It's
always work.
It's a good
Unless
place to
it's a-
start. Doesn't require batteries. There's very little to go wrong with it, and you will always have need or find use for a good beam scale.
Frankfurt. Okay.
That's a good digital to have. I've got that.
No,
Mm-hmm.
let me make a quick point here. A good beam scale, because Jamie has a collection of beam scales that are not good beam scales.
I'm gonna.
Go up.
Scotsman, if it's all right with you, I think I'm gonna give him that scale when I take him
Yeah.
that prep.
You do you, brother.
And I've got another one I'm gonna loan him too. Let me go over here and get it. And you guys in the side chat are rocking. I can't keep up. So CW, if you see a comment that needs to be displayed, please do so. Yeah, Bear's got a good comment there too. A good set of check weights is a must. You can get a set of check weights for $20.
Yeah. Check weights are
Sean,
important.
if you haven't noticed, there'll be a lot of things coming your way here soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, there have been some good electronic scales, inexpensive ones that have come around, and there have been some that are not so good. I not too long ago got an RCBS digital scale, and I can't recommend that one. It just does not perform well at all. Some of the Chinese ones are real good, and I suspect that many of the ones from like Frankfurt Arsenal and Hornady and some of these other folks got the same guts in them. Some of them really look a lot alike too, and
Sure
they'll
do.
work. But I still like the idea of a beam scale that has nothing digital in it. To get started, they're easy to set up and get balanced and plumbed. And once you have that established, they're gonna work for you with a good set of check weights. You need to have a good set of check weights there's a couple things with all scales. You can have a scale or a balance that will read the same every time, but how do you know if what you're reading really is that weight? In other words, if your balance says it's 5.0 grains or 22.5 grains, how do you know if it really is that? Even if it says that every time, how do you know if it is really 22.5 grains? Well, that's what you use your check weights for, because they're calibrated. And so you put those on your balance, and if your balance still shows 22.5, then you're good to go. But if you set your balance for 22.5 grains and you put 22.5 worth of check weights on it, and it doesn't balance anymore, then you got something haywire, and it may be just something that your balance is out of level or askew or something. But that's why we use check weights. Yeah,
they're affected by so many things that you can't see or you don't know,
Right.
especially the battery operated ones. Phones can affect them. Lights in your house can affect them. all kinds of things that you'd never expect. Lower batteries can make them do wacky things. So that's why I don't ever recommend electronic scales. They're fine to have. They're a good thing to have. They're great for weighing a bullet or double checking a case weight or, anything along those lines, but they're not for powder. If you want to check them against your beam scale as a second, sure, go ahead. But
Yep.
they're a good tool to have, but you want a good beam scale.
That one that Jamie's showing there. Go ahead, Jamie.
There's
Talk
a few
to us, man.
basics to using all of them with the electronic scales. Like I said, they can be affected by so many things that you can't even see or wouldn't even maybe suspect could cause problems, haywire, funky, measurings. So that's the reason for the electronics. But the a beam scale, basically the only thing you want to make sure you're on is a level, flat surface away from breezes, and that's easy to do.
Mhm. You can put a little bubble level on them and on your bench and check and see where. But if your system is not level, then you can be a little bit inaccurate. But the advantage of the digitals, the electronics, is they're inexpensive compared to a decent electronic scale is way less expensive than a decent beam scale.
I've been doing this so long, I've got several beam scales and several just electronic scales and several electronic powder measures and all this stuff. But I generally double check it on two different scales and make sure they're right. And then I can trust it. Out of my powder measure, I can trust it then.
I want to touch on a little something here that Sean started to say, and he started to bring up all these different things out there. When you're a new reloader, if you do not have someone to really guide you through the process, it is very overwhelming, the amount of reloading equipment from all the different companies, and it just becomes, and it makes your head blow apart. It really does. It did me when I first started. Look at all these catalogs, all these sources online, all these shops. I got all this stuff, and I would just get so frustrated. I'd end up walking out because I don't know. There's this, there's electronic, there's beam scales, there's auto powder measures, and which one's the best and what should I use? Try to keep everything as simple as you can. A good set of beam scales, a good electronic set of scales. You're good to go. As a new reloader doing, single processes.
Here's something that Hasbro was just mentioned. Here's an old OHAS 1010. This is what I use on my main bench. But reason I'm showing it to you is if you look at let me see, right inside the right circle there is a magnifying glass on the level to show you that you are on weight that you're supposed to be on. And that's as simple as, it's kind of hard for you to see my picture, but that's as simple as just a magnifying glass that you can pick up when you want a number of places, screwed to a piece of wood above my bench to be able to be sure that your scale is on the reading you expect it to be on.
And you see that powder trickler over there on the side? If you're going to be using beam scales, you need a powder trickler.
I'm sure we can go into all the rest of the gear that he's going to need in kind of a separate program. But yeah, good. And Sean, if you start with a good beam scale, and like we've been talking about, there's several of them out there, and they're going to cost, a decent one's going to cost you $100, maybe more. But a usable digital one might only cost you $25 more. So it's not a bad thing to have both of them. And I think it was CW mentioned earlier that the little digital ones are really good for checking the weights of bullets to see how close they are. They're going to be accurate to within a couple tenths of a grain. which is good enough for that kind of thing. If you want to start comparing weights of your rifle cases and start sorting them for, that kind of thing to do really, really quickly, the little digital scales are great for that. They're just not great enough, I don't think, for measuring your powder. So having both's not a bad deal.
So beam and a small electronic.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, why not? The little electronics are so inexpensive compared to a good beam. Wouldn't hurt to have both.
Well, what I did is I started out with electronic, and I had a couple of those, even the electronic powder throwers and all that. I went ahead and bought a beam scale or two, just for the fact that what if something happens and I have to be in the woods and reload ammo? I wanted everything mechanical. I could just take it with me. And I haven't had a problem out of the Hornady balance beam scale. It's worked great for me. I've got check weights, and it's, as long as you do your part and it's level, it's accurate. So you can go that route, or you can go with there's 30 or 40 electronic scales out there that I could recommend, but I recommend getting a balance beam scale as long as you know how to work it, which you may or may not know how to do. There's tenths of a grain over here. There's, all that stuff. You have to know how to use your equipment to make everything accurate.
Right, and it's not a steep learning curve. You can do it. Mark Twain once said that, some people got their education without going to college, and the rest of them got it after they got out. And you get your hands on the gear and start messing with it. It's not hard to do. So we don't want to intimidate you by that. This is not rocket science. You do have to pay attention, and each little piece will have its own quirks. But a guy with your background, don't let the instructions intimidate you. Look at the gear, you'll figure it out. It's not hard.
Yeah, and I'll go one more and say I recommend a dial caliper over the electronic ones. As far as
dial calipers for sure, and the big thing, just like everyone else is saying, man, just take your time, go slow, and once you have your first 100 rounds, 200 rounds, you'll start to get a rhythm, and you'll start to figure it out, and it's really not that hard. One of the big things, you're talking about 44 Magnum, 44 Special. Don't mix your cases. Pay attention, make sure your cases don't get mixed up, because then you'll end up with a bad day. Just make sure you're paying attention to what you're reading, what you're doing, and you'll be fine.
Awesome.
all racked up. Guys, I just realized it's almost 9 o'clock and we haven't ran through the side chat yet. We've had 61 or 62 people on here at one point, and not that we want to miss anybody. So my scale, my beam scale is a Lyman Ohas. I think it's a 502. This scale right here is a Redding HF3. It's a very old balance scale. The one thing that I do not like about that old Redding scale is it is not magnetically dampened, and it sits there and goes up and down and up and down and up and down from now on until something stops it, and it's going to be hard to use. Then there's Allenby Pro out there with his always sage advice: just buy it, Dylan. Okay,
Go
guys.
go big or go home.
Yeah.
Drink the blue Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Michael Dunn. I have both. Uh, Let me address that, and we'll go through the side chat. Uh, yeah, I use an electronic um, caliper for doing the checking my headspace on bottleneck cartridges. But it's frustrating when you're using those and the battery goes dead. And yet you can use a dial caliper for that, but yeah, I don't know what that means, Walks. So everybody type in 1010 and we'll call out your name on the YouTube TV. Slide rules are fun. They kind of are, Miss Kitty. Yeah, you can get, James, you can get those, like Bama Dad was talking about earlier. You can get those, you can get the beam type scales at yard sales and estate sales and stuff like that and not have to pay a whole lot for them. So let me get back to the beginning here.
Bill, you beat me to RIN 1010.
We have CW 1010 Viejo, Allen B. Pro, Edward Petty, James Pollard, James Pugh, Michael Dunn, six shooter Texan, Mark Thomas, Bobby Barlow, Heisei, Reloader 762, Walks Fletcher, Hasbro, Tactical Fud, Tommy Boy 104, Andy 79Z28, Dwayne 7834, Daniel God is my judge, Hillbilly Up, Vanessa Kitty, 3 Jeep Discovery, Bama Dad, Trees a Blowing, Dale Pogue, Tim S. Floridian, Hasbro, M1A2 Abrams Tank, Papa's Place, Corners and Doors, Michael Hurtneck, Jerbear Tactical, Rollis Carvelis, Abigail Finnegan, Oh One Guy, The Scottish American, Paul Loud, Chris from the 740, missing you, Chris, M1A2 Abrams Tank, Alaska 1 Andy, Hobbies Hobo, Pony underscore 47, as Chico would say. Daniel God is my judge, reloading from the hot pot. Daniel God is my judge, Georgia Shooting Connection. That would be Kyle Lusk. Mike Hester, Harm, Pat in a Bunker. Yeah, we'll work on that. Fudd, Vanessa Kitty, Garage Guy 879, and yeah, I know those 1010s are nice though. They last forever. They just do. So Sean, if you ever get a chance to get you a OHAS or a RCBS 1010 or a Lyman, they're all the same thing. What you'll find is most of these beam scales are made by OHAS, and they just put, like, they'll paint them orange and put Lyman on them, or they'll paint them green and put RCBS on them. But most of your older beam scales are OHAS. So if you can find an OHAS, and you can find them on eBay too, man. That's a good place to find them. Thanks, Paul Loud. I learned from Chico. So, Mark Thomas, have you had any experience with compressed loads?
Never done one. I I picked up a bottle of Lever Revolution to load the 35 Remington with, and the first load up on there had a C after it, and I had no clue. So I got a hold of CW, and he explained it to me, and I said, I don't think I want to do that. So I have not done any compressed loads, and I'm not sure exactly when I will.
Well, I'm I'm not as afraid of it as I used to be. I think I think the fact that there's data there to do it proves that it has been done and that it is safe. Because let me tell you about these reloading manuals, lawyers, right, Hillbilly?
You betcha.
That's the
And
truth.
I just gonna say the only compressed loads I ever shot was some I left in my chair and I set on a box of ammo. But that's about it.
I kind of got derailed when I was talking there, but one thing I didn't get to say was most often your most accurate loads are 100% density loads, which are compressed loads.
See, that's our goal. And is this your thinking, CW? I want my case as full as I can get it without going over pressure and not without being compressed. You know?
Well, that's the misnomer. Don't get fooled into that. Don't get to thinking that a compressed load is a high pressure load. It's not necessarily so. The only powder I know of off the top of my head that should not be compressed is and now it's right out of my head. Tight Group. No, Trail Boss. Trail Boss says it right on the bottle. Do not compress it. But
Do not
its
crush
best
the
loads
donut.
are going to happen at 98, 97, 99% density. So almost full, not compressed. That's with that one powder. About, I don't know of any other powder that tells you not to compress it. Any other powder.
I don't think I would put Tight Group in anything.
No, not Tight Group. A Trail Boss. I misspoke.
No, yeah, I don't. I wouldn't compress anything with Tight Group.
Oh, you got that right.
That give you a big
I
problem.
don't think there's a cartridge out there that can hold enough Tight Group to compress it.
Not
I mean,
without
it's
blowing your gun up, man. That
Yeah.
stuff's like nitroglycerin.
It's a very low volume powder, which is why everybody loves it. You use
More
3
bang for your
grains of
buck.
it in a 9mm, you know, as opposed to hearing the cookies crunching when you pull the handle down on a 308 round, because it's a totally different style powder. You compress Tight Group, you got a problem.
Yeah, it's
No, Kyle. You did have a problem.
Well, y'all would know that I had a problem. I wouldn't.
well, yeah, that's true too. And one of the reasons that I don't like compressed loads is I've watched too much Johnny's Reloading Bench, and I typically don't. There's G. Pishner just getting in his 1010. What's up, buddy? And I don't. I know I should. I need to at least test it. But on my precision bottleneck cartridge stuff, I don't like to crimp. And if you've got a compressed load and you don't crimp, unless you got a really good neck tension, it's going to grow back out. And I think CW's got some more to say. I think we'll keep interrupting CW before he gets his thought completed.
Only ball powders. You're not going to find extruded unless you're really heavily compressed. And if you are, use that drop tube, and all of a sudden you won't be. You can make it out of an arrow shaft. It's nothing fancy. It's just a drop tube. Well, aluminum arrow will give you a drop tube.
That's cool. There's just some good advice. Sean, Hobby's Hobo says, learn about using dippers first. And he say, RCBS $45 plus $16.30 shipping. Buy it now listing. I'm assuming that's on eBay.
Sean, I've been doing this a long time, and I still use the Lee dippers. If you buy Lee dies, they generally come with a dipper for whatever caliber you're doing. I went ahead and bought the whole set. So I've got multiples of a bunch of dippers because I have multiple sets of Lee dies. And they're always generally they're good enough. You may be 1/10 of the grain over or 1/10 of the grain under. You just learn how to use the dipper, use your scale, and
The dippers are awesome. They're very consistent. It's not hard to get the curve of them. I've got half a dozen boxes of them. They're cheap, really good to have. And Lee dies often come with a dipper. And Lee book will also show dipper sizes to be used with some of their loads. But I still would never use the blind. I would dip a few, throw them in your scale and weigh them and see what you got.
Yeah, definitely. Then you have to learn how to get the powder in the dipper.
I've shown it a number of times in my videos of 410 loading.
Yeah, by backing it up into the powder and then going forward.
yeah, I'm sorry,
I've
my
got it-
internet went out for just a second. So
I mean, I've got a set of dippers too, and I use them on occasion.
Walter's is well used. Walter, show that slide thing again and explain a little bit about that. Miss Kitty's going to love that.
Sure. The lead dipper set that I just showed you comes with a whole bunch of those dippers, and they are calibrated in cc's. So depending on the density of the powder, 1 cc of one powder will be different grainage than the next one. But they give you this slide rule thing. Let me back up here and see the whole deal. And up in the little window up here, they list the powder by name. So there's Vitavari N140, and then down the other side down here, they say, okay, you want 23 grains, you use the 0.17, okay, and so forth. So they got a whole bunch of powders. If I pull that slider out, there's all these different powders listed on. There's a whole bunch of them. They're not all there, but most of the common ones are there. So you just find your powder on the slide scale, the slide rule there, and you look down the list, and it says, okay, if you want 4.5 grains, you use such and such a dipper from the collection that's in there.
There they go.
Dippers on my table. There goes two more. Okay.
you're gonna be cleaning up for a minute. Yeah.
Good thing there's no powder in there. Yeah, clean up on aisle 5. But the way they work is that each one of these guys has written right on the handle, right there. And I guess turn it right side up. Tells you how many cc's they are, and if you go look in Lee's manual, they'll relate all of their powder charges that they show to cubic centimeters as well as grains, and that helps you pick out an appropriate dipper. If you come up with a pet load that doesn't exactly fit one of these, you can go get yourself some sandpaper or cut these down, make them fit. And as CW was saying, there's something to learning how to use these dippers so that you're consistent every time. If you don't develop a technique for using the dippers, for scooping them into your powder container, then you'll get a different charge every time, and it might be 1/10 or 2/10 of a grain off. So you have to develop that. But they're cheap, they're easy. I think these kits, I think you can still get this kit for $15 or something. If you buy Lee reloading dies, you get a dipper that's close to being what you're probably going to use for some of the more common powders for that particular caliber. And they include a little chart that says, hey, if you're going to use 4.3 grains of tight group, here's the dipper size that you use. So Lee does that for you. And so, that coupled with having one of these makes it kind of a handy thing to have. And if you're talking about plinking loads, they're good enough.
And the Lee
in
dies
most
come
cases.
with the case holder as well.
Yeah, you can get a shell holder also. So there's with a set of Lee dies, you get the shell holder, you get a dipper, and you get a set of load data that includes what dipper you should use with various kinds of powder to get the charge you're looking for with that powder if you've got the whole set. So yeah, that's what we're talking about when we say dippers. You can make your own dippers, out of braise yourself a piece of brazing rod onto the end of a shell casing that's got a dead primer in it, and make a dipper out of that. That's what I've done. A lot of other guys have done something similar. So yeah, using a dipper is a good skill to have. It'll acquaint you with volume to weight ratios with different powders. And it's something that you can use in the event that you got no electricity, because you can do that with a beam scale too. But
Walter, my dog knocked my whole set of dippers into the floor, and I still have to clean that up. So me and you are in the same boat.
we need a dipper fairy. All right.
What were you going to show us about compressed loads?
Are you talking to me, Jamie, or?
Yes, sir. You had a book you were going to show us something out.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna while we're here, we can look at in the Lyman manual, and I was just going to show an example of how they denote a compressed charge. And let's see, I think I lost the place, but that's all right. Here's another one. Here's 300 Savage, and right off the top of my index finger there, okay, is showing a load for Varget with this 180 grain jacketed bullet, and in the bold type there it says 41.0 with a plus by it, and then you go down here lower and it says that if there's a plus sign there that it designates a compressed charge. So they tell you that it's a compressed charge. And not only that, but the fact that this particular load is in bold or darker type. Another thing that they tell you down here is that the bold face is the potentially most accurate load. So here's a case where we got a compressed load that's also probably going to be your most accurate load. And that's what CW was talking about earlier. So oftentimes, your accuracy load is going to be where you've got the most powder possible in there, even though it's a somewhat compressed charge. And Varget's an easy one to compress. It's a stick type powder, lots of airspace. And as we were talking about earlier, if you use a drop tube, what that does is displaces the air as you're filling the case. So you get more of that powder into the case before you have to actually compress it to squish the air out. So, and Lyman's not the only one that does that, you guys. Most of the other manuals will tell you, hey, this is going to be a compressed charge.
I've got a Hornady book right here. Let me take a look in it. I like to recommend the Lyman book too, CW, for that very reason. And Tactical Fudge says, everybody told me to buy a Lee manual and read the front section on reloading. That's very good advice. And the reason I would second that is because of the fact that Lee's book has a good section on casting as well as just regular reloading. So let me look in this Hornady book, and see if they
Yeah, the first 20 or 30 pages of a reloading manual is just basic information that is good to read. It's before you get into the load data section, which is in the back. But the first 20 to 30 pages, it's good to sit there and have a cup of coffee and read.
Yes, it is. I like having the two manuals, Lee and Lyman. I've also got the cast reloading books too, the cast bullets. The other ones, as far as like Sierra, Hornady, they make bullets, so they design all of their loads around their bullets. Well, if I'm not loading those bullets, I don't really find a need to have the manuals for those bullets. I don't load any Hornady or Sierra. I do mainly hand cast bullets. Every once in a while, I will use a jacketed bullet in something, but it's rare. So,
Well, Gene, it's still good to have the bullet or the book to compare to the other book that you're looking at.
And to add to that quickly, if you ever run across any of these old manuals, like at garage sales and whatnot, Sean, don't pass up an opportunity to buy these old manuals. Sometimes some of the old information has been lost in the newer manuals. And I refer back to these. In fact, I was doing a load just today. This is an old manual.
51,
from
I
back,
think those were.
yeah. So, and it's got information that I needed that's no longer carried in the modern manuals. So if you run across the old manuals, grab them, if you can get them at a decent price. Don't shun an old manual.
The other great thing about those old manuals for cast bullets is they will show loads and data specifically for a lot of the old molds that haven't been made in 50 years, 40 years, 20 years.
Right.
we want to keep him really basic right now, though, don't we, boys?
Yeah, that's why I recommend
On the
Lyman.
bottom end.
Lyman is going to give you everything you need for a manual, and then once you establish a favorite powder, bullet, primer, whatever, buy their manual, because they're going to do better, more in-depth stuff on that bullet, powder, primer that is your favorite. You're going to want to have a number of manuals anyway, and if you really take to this, you're going to end up with all of them. So don't be afraid of older manuals. Don't be afraid of previous versions. You can often pick them up cheap at gun shows or garage sales or eBay. So don't be afraid of the older manuals. There's a wealth of information in them.
Right. So there's manuals that the bullet manufacturers put out, like Hornady and Nosler, Sierra, and there's manuals that the powder manufacturers put out, like Vitavuri, Hodgdon, Alliant. Those guys put out their own manuals also. So that's what CW is talking about, Sean. If you get to the point where I really like this powder with this bullet, get the manual for that bullet, if it's a Sierra bullet, for example. And if you like some Alliant powder, go get Alliant's manual also and cross-reference.
Yeah, that's a good point, Walt. I just picked up a Hodgson, a new manual, I guess it was at an LGS, and it was just a supplement. It was just an update supplement for.
That's all they do now, Gene. They do a magazine, if you will, for about the past 10 years. That's all they've produced. But a lot of the powder manufacturers will give you their stuff for free. If you send them an email or you send them a request on their website, you can get their manuals for free. The bullet guys are the ones that charge you, Hornady and Sierra. And Sierra doesn't do one either. Here, Sierra is digital only. But you can get that for a minimal download fee. Spear still makes one, I believe. Lyman still makes one, of course. Hornady has one. Barnes stopped making theirs too. Barnes doesn't make them anymore. They do digital. And that's if you're using Barnes bullets or somebody's special manufacturer. But to start out, I really recommend Lyman, and the reason is They don't make powder bullets or primers, and they're going to offer you data for all the popular stuff that you're probably going to be using. So it's going to be good information for you to start with.
Yep, me too.
I have that
I'll
book.
ditto that.
I have that book by my dad. I should probably let Sean buy it. Borrow that as well.
Just look on eBay. They're really a good source for this, and actually Amazon too for books. You can often find stuff on Amazon used because there's a lot of booksellers that sell on Amazon. So you can often get good prices. The last one I got, which is the one that Walter just showed you. Of course, he likes showing his because his is pretty and nice and never been opened. Mine has been used for like 100 years. But it's got the same
I just
information.
told you I just opened this one up today.
What's that maker, that publisher, Walter, that you always talk about?
Cornell Publications. Their
That's the
website is Cornell, CORNELL.PUBS. Okay, CornellPubs.com. They make reprints of all of these old manuals going back to the early 1900s. And if you ever get into cast bullets, you kind of got to get some of these old bullets. Ideal was the name of the company before Lyman bought them. So Ideal and Lyman we kind of consider them sort of the same. So these old manuals, this is all about cast bullets because that's what there was back in the 20s, 30s, even the 40s and 50s. Okay. So if you start doing cast bullets, I can go look into my mold drawer, which I said that I just had referred to this one today, and I've got an old mold that's not in production. It hasn't been for a couple of decades. Nothing in the new Lyman manual, and it's that 429-251 bullet, but it's in this one.
Yep.
That's what I love about Friday nights.
Great stuff.
Yep. Every Friday night, even though I've been doing this for so long, I learned something new from everybody that's either on the panel or the side chat. I learned something new.
When did you start reloading, Walter?
1976.
Okay, so you're the same as me. I'm about 75, 76. I'm mid 70s. So we've been loading quite a while. I think we're probably the most.
Yeah, you started younger than me because I'm way older than you.
I was just a kid. I was just a teenager.
Yeah, I was in my 20s. So.
I've only been doing this for about 15 years. So y'all always teach me something, and every now and then I teach y'all something. So it's cool.
Well, absolutely.
That's what we do.
If you ever get to the point where you think I know it all and there's very little, more for me to learn, go stick a broomstick down your throat and gag your wild.
The good Lord gave us 2 eyes, 2 ears, but only 1 mouth.
That's it.
Reason.
A broomstick, Walter? Really?
The only time,
it's a family-oriented show.
The only 2 times you stop learning are by choice or by death.
Well, yeah.
Just
I started reloading shotgun rounds, and a lot of y'all people gave me a lot of knowledge that kept me from blowing my face off. So I appreciate that.
Well, if you go to my about section on my YouTube channel, it states that I am an apprentice of life.
Yep. And I'm getting dangerously close to tapping some of you guys on the shoulder. Let me show you what showed up in the mail today.
There you go. Woohoo!
So this is something that I know zero about. I shoot a shotgun, but boy, I've never loaded one. So that's coming up.
Let me tell you, be careful. I loaded up some slug rounds, and when Willie was here, I let him. He shot one, And I said, "Here, you want another one?" He goes, "Nope." Turns out they were a little too hot.
A little spicy. So yeah, you never stop learning, you know. And I never loaded shotgun rounds because I never had to. But now here we are faced with shortages, and there's no ammo, and all of the above. And I've got the itch to start shooting shotgun again, and I know
Y'all
nothing
gonna
about.
make me get my glasses, Val. Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to learn, and I'm going to start here.
It's
I'm gonna
different.
read all of this.
And like CW told me, and actually Oceans Julio told me, a little goes a long way. So
Yeah,
you know, everything's important.
I'm looking down the side chat, guys, and there's a lot of old time reloaders out there. There's a bunch of guys in this side chat right now that have got literally decades of experience of doing this. And I'm here to tell you that, you know, however many guys you ask, how do I do this? That's how many different replies you're probably going to get. So, you know, it's good to ask a lot of people, a lot of questions, and it takes a little bit of cooking to get it all condensed down to come up with a system and a setup that's going to work for you. And just because two different guys tell you something different doesn't mean that either one of them's wrong. You know, there's a lot of ways to skin this same cat, and so you can gain a lot from talking to folks. And there's a wealth of knowledge available. Let me tell you.
Amen. And that's kind of why we do this every Friday night.
Yep.
I
Look at
guess
Tommy Boy. He's a beginner.
I'm probably the newest reloader here. I've only been reloading for 6-7 years now.
Doesn't show.
But,
No, I'm right there with you, man. I'm about 7 years as well.
you know,
It's you know, no matter how many times we go back and we do something, it's still you might question yourself here or there. But one of the big things that always comes to mind for me is you're gonna screw up, guys. You're gonna. And you have that wall of shame. We all have it.
Yes,
I had that little cup
Yep.
on top of the bench. There it is.
We all got
the
it.
wall of shame. We all have it. It's gonna happen. So don't be afraid of it.
I actually promote the wall of shame.
Yeah, you do. You
This
bring it
this
up
is
all the
what
time,
not
and it's
to do.
casting was nothing new to me because I casted sinkers with my grandfather. You know, so using molds and learning the process of smelting, I learned that very early. So when I started casting my own bullets, it just all came right back. Boom.
Right.
You know, smelting and fluxing, and I already knew what to get and how to use it. But the actual reloading part of it, I have learned so much on this chat. It's, you know, it's like, that's why I always say, you know, I'm ready for some schooling. You know, because you guys have helped me out so much.
I can't wait for you to start reloading rifle rounds again.
I already do.
I'm talking rifle rounds.
Like
James
what?
Pollard brought up a point I just want to mention real quickly about having multiple manuals. There it is right there. Sometimes manuals have misprints, and Lyman is no exception from that. We find these misprints every once in a while where the data is clearly wrong.
Right.
If
can
you've
search
got
it.
some experience, you know,
can search it
and you
on,
look at it, and go, there's no way it can be that can be right. And sometimes they will repeat that same misprint,
Yep.
addition to addition. So when you find them, you know, you got to circle them and cross them out or make a note or something in your book. But having more than one reference manual is a good idea for many reasons, and that's one of them.
Yep.
And the beautiful part about the great interweb is if you don't have it in your manuals, you can start looking it up.
Well, when I remember, what was this? I don't know, 10 years ago when they were talking about a certain president was gonna take all the internet reloading information off the internet. I went and printed off everybody's manuals. I mean, I've got manuals that were run off of, a laser disc printer, and they're all paper clipped, and every powder manufacturer, Alliant, Hodgdon, all this. I just went ahead and printed everything out. I'm like, if they're going to try to take this from me, I'm going to get it from them first. And so I can compare, 5 different loading manuals to one bullet, and I come up with what I call a pet load. It's what I like, it's what my gun likes, it's what I use. And every single one of those manuals was a little bit different. So it's good to at least have 2. That way you can cross compare.
Let's address Michael's comment here. How do you know, Michael? Because you've cross-referenced. You've checked your other manuals, and Hornady says it's 34 grains, and everybody else says Hornady says it's 43 grains. Everybody else says it's 34. It's a person inputting the data, and we're all human.
Right.
So
Yes, very, very true, CW.
and you can search
Right,
it.
and
You can search it online, and they'll come up. And there's a lot of known problems that have been in a few manuals for quite a while, and you can search it. And if you've got that manual, that year manual, you'll know that it's misinformation. And they're pretty good about correcting it, posting about it, but they're kind of slow about fixing it.
yeah, sometimes it's pretty obvious. I've run across a couple in the Lyman manual where they give you the cartridge overall length, and you seat the bullet to the length they say, and the bullet's clear down inside the case. I don't think so, boys.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. There is huge differences between the 49th and the 50th Lyman manual.
Mhm.
I was amazed. I got both of them, and I used both of them. And I was like, this just doesn't look right. And turns out it wasn't right.
Yeah, and that's just experience, and that will come, eventually. You reload a lot, and for different calibers, and you gain experience in one caliber that can carry over to the next. So it takes a little bit of time, but again, it really isn't rocket science as long as you pay attention and don't be afraid to ask questions.
That's
There's been many times that I'm going through multiple manuals, cross-referencing, and trying to figure something out, and I call Jamie or I call someone else and go, "Hey, man, what am I missing? What's going on here?" And this is the beauty of what we have here. We can all talk to each other, help each other out. If there's something not right, something don't look right, we can ask and figure it out.
I've got an example for you on that one, Scotsman. I was Big E. Me and him were going back and forth, and he sent me a load, some load data, and I'm like, there is no way this is right. It was like 22 grains of H110 and 357 Magnum with a 125 grain bullet. I'm like, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that to my hand. I ain't doing that to my gun. I ain't doing that to my press. And I went and looked up that data in about 4 places, and it was there. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm still not doing it.
I found that same thing for my 44 mag, Jamie. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
I know I worked up to 19 grains with a 140 grain bullet years and years and years ago, before there was XTP bullets, and that was a stiff load.
Yeah.
That was a stiff load. So when you asked me about that one, I said, well, 125, 140, 19 to 22. It sounds hot, but it might be.
I think my standard load in 357 right now is about, I think it's right at 15 grains of heavy pistol with a
I,
158 grain bullet.
I
Hey, I
want to
got an 8-pound jug of that.
I want to touch on something here, and that is outside of the manuals, a binder, for what you're doing.
Oh, I have a
for
drawer
the
full of them.
for load
Yeah.
development by
Yeah, keep-
by
keep your
caliber,
own
by
notes.
bullet weight, by powder.
Yep.
So
I'm binder
and,
boy right here.
and the cheapest place to get that is when school starts. Oh, I've got a couple school starting binders that are full of notes. I keep notes on everything I load.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If it's new to me, I'm making notes. I'm looking at manuals and I'm making notes, and I'm doing math. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of the beautiful bullets that I just can't. I don't want to bring myself to throw down range because I just want to look at them.
Yeah.
Dang, you guys, man, you're pretty bullets, man. I swear. I just can't. I'm gonna have to though. So right now I'm in the process of making notes and doing math on bullet weights to the powders that I possess
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
what I want to use with them.
Yep.
Well,
Keeping
now-
good
now-
records of everything you do is important. Whether
Yes,
it's, writing down all
hand
your loads or keep track of
handwritten
your firearms.
your handwritten records that you understand and can read.
I've
Is
got
a very
I've got
important part of this
notebooks in the
process.
basement. I've got notebooks in the reloading room. I've got notebooks in the kitchen. I got
Well,
notebooks everywhere. I write down everything.
See, that's why I wanted to bring this subject up because I knew you guys had them too, and that's I think that is the most important part of your reloading process is your experience with them, and
Yeah,
having that in
that's
writing and
something
being able to
that-
look back onto it is you need that more than you need that reloading manual.
That's
in the end
something that
product.
came up years ago when I first got into this, and I was probably 6 months in, maybe somewhere in there, maybe a year top somewhere, and Left for Wild and a couple other guys out there were making their own binders and doing this and doing that, and I had never thought about it. Why should I record the data? Because I'm just taking it out of the manual. Well, I don't know, it's going to vary at some point in time. So, recording your own data, having your own information is a good thing to do. And Left for Wild hooked me up and helped me out and sent me some different things. And man, it's been a lifesaver. You want to make sure you always write that stuff down constantly.
Yeah, bullet weight, powder charges. I'll go out and I'll chrono it. I'll do the FPS. I'll comment in my sections about how it feels, whether it was snappy, if it was flat, if it pushed, if it pulled. I mean, everything about that I'll put down, and then I'll come to a conclusion and do a final load for the purpose of what I'm shooting.
Let me say a couple of things, and then I want to get to Sean. He told some very interesting stories about insurance last night at dinner at our meeting, and when you're ordering your stuff online, I just got a text from Idaho Rogers. He says, "Beware of people selling brass on Instagram." That goes not only just for brass on Instagram, that goes for any reloading components that you buy online. Number one, if you buy it online, you've got to pay hazmat and shipping and tax. If you can find it local, not only are you keeping your money in your community, you're avoiding those charges. And it's not like your local mom and pop gun store uh, is absorbing that. I mean, they order it in such bulk that it's minuscule, really and truly. But anytime you're buying anything offline, go and check that vendor and make sure they're legit and not just out scamming people.
Well, and one of the big indicators there is if they won't take credit cards and they only take crypto or do this or do that. Just be careful because that's going to be a big indicator that they're probably not real.
Yeah, you need to be able to find reviews from that company online, and if you can't, and another thing that gripes me while I'm venting here is people say, "Well, so and so has uh, large rifle primers for $65 a thousand," and you go over there, and they had them, but they're out of stock. So if it's not in stock, then it ain't really that price, you know. And yeah, so I'll look at that picture, Idaho. Let me see if I still got it. I didn't get a picture. I really didn't. Anyway, Sean, tell us a couple of those stories about what they do to people. Uh,
For U.S. law.
do what?
Which story you want to hear?
Um, I want to hear some of those stories about some of the guys that you've dealt with, and but before we do that, let me say armament and axes. That's a great topic for next week. CW, you see that? Remind me, and we'll talk about the differences in pistol and rifle next week. Some of the people that's been arrested for having their guns and kind of what carry insurance is made to intended for and intended to do.
Sure. So we were talking the other day, and I was going over a couple of the people that I encountered. I'm in gun stores pretty much every week, multiple gun stores, and I had a guy come in. He told me that he wanted to sign up, and that the guy in the book was his attorney. It was Matt Kilgo from our lead Georgia contract attorney. He said that he was walking down the street and he got attacked by two guys. He took out his gun and shot it in the air to scare them off. Well, they ran away, but he called the cops, and the cops came and arrested him and arrested him for discharging his firearm in public. And, well, he went and saw an attorney, and the attorney got him out of everything, but it cost him $8,000. So that's a lot of money, and that's one of the things that U.S. Law Shield covers. And the reason why I came over to Law Shield from another company is three reasons, basically. They had it. They give you. I feel that they give you the best attorney representation right from the get go. So the minute you call 911, you hang up the phone. You call U.S. Law Shield, the 800 number that they have, and you get in touch with an attorney. Now, that means a couple of things. It means you have attorney-client privilege right from the get-go, and it also means that you have a guy walking you through the whole process right from minute one, which was important to me because the other organization I had been with, you call up and you get a customer service representative, or you hand the police a card with some writing on the back of it. I wanted to have a guy walk me through the process from minute one. So that was important. Another thing that I found was surprising is with companies that are an insurance company, they have what they call a clawback. So if you are arrested and God forbid you're actually found guilty, they're going to come back and they're going to ask for all that money back because they can't cover you because they're an insurance company. And being an attorney services firm, there is no clawback, so we're not going to ask you for all that money back. And in Georgia, it's very easy to be found guilty of something. Aggravated assault. But there was a new bill in Georgia that didn't go through. Thank God. It was I think it was gangs, guns, and gone. But that had mandatory minimum sentence requirements if you're found guilty. And so with an attorney services form, they're not going to have a callback. They're not going to go back and ask for all that money back if in the event you're found guilty of something. And really, the other one was just really the local presence. Another organization I was with had no real local presence. And with this organization, we're just all over the place in seminars throughout Georgia. So that's what I liked about them. That was the best thing. Another good. It really depends on the county too, especially in Georgia. I mean, if you're arrested in, and I was telling you last night, I mean, there's some things you could be arrested in Atlanta and get the electric chair. Meanwhile, you can get arrested in North Georgia for something. Charges will be dropped and you'll be handed a medal. So it really and that's like that in a lot of different counties throughout the U.S. You know, it really depends on where the incident happens. That's one of the biggest things. In Georgia, that's most prevalent, like in Atlanta and the surrounding area. So
For you guys in different parts of the country, Georgia is
funny.
Yeah, we've got two states here really. You've got the metro Atlanta area, and then you have everybody else, and it's that way in every state. I bet it's like that in every state that's represented in this panel. You have that liberal downtown area, and then you have the conservative rural and other type places. And Hot Pot, I don't know what you're asking, buddy, but
Can you do a scroll across the screen for information to the website for the insurance?
for
U.S. Law Shield.
Yes.
I don't know how to
can.
do that.
I can do that.
Yeah, the moderator.
I was going to say one good example of that is what happened in Austin, Texas recently, where a person was confronted with, I guess it was a protester. The man pointed a rifle at him and he shot him in self-defense, and he was just found guilty of murder down there. That's kind of like what we got going on here in Georgia.
See, when you do a Google search for U.S. Law Shield, USCCA comes up before U.S. Law Shield when you did a search for that particular.
Yes. So in a
So-
Google search, yeah, they spend more money on that than we do.
That's not surprising.
So the big difference there, the elephant in the room is, and I don't like to knock USCCA. They're a great company. You get a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of glitter with their website and their magazine, concealed carry magazine, and all that. But they're an insurance company, and I was surprised to learn that. And I called them and asked them when I was a member, what happens if I'm found guilty of something? And they will have that callback. So they'll come in. So after the first and second worst day of your life, you'll have a third worst day of your life when you're getting a bill for $80,000 for an attorney.
Wow.
So that's pretty big. And it's amazing some of the stories I heard. I had another story of a guy who was in South Carolina, and he pulled up in back of somebody, and he was at a light. He beeped his horn. The guy didn't move, and I'm not giving away any names or anything like that. So he drove around him, and I don't know what took place when he drove around him, but anyway, the guy got angry and came after him with his car and tried to run him off the road. And unfortunately, he was not versed in calling 911 and whatnot. He got on 911 with the guy chasing him, and was telling him he was running out of gas. He's going to pull into the Rite Aid or the Quick Check or whatever it was, and he had to get gas. And when he does, he has his gun with him, and if this guy comes after him, he's going to shoot him. So he pulled into the gas station. The guy got out of his car. This person brandished his gun. The guy turned around, jumped in his car, and took off. Cops came and arrested him. And I think they wanted something like $60,000 in fines, and they were going to put him in jail. And then they lowered it, and his attorney ended up costing him about $20,000 for that. It'd be a lot of money.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stories that made me want to invite Sean on and share this kind of information with you guys. And yeah, I don't badmouth companies. Y'all know me better than that. But I don't need a magazine. I don't need gifts for signing up. I just need that protection when something like that happens. Big Al has a question for you, Sean. How much does it cost? Is it different cost for states that are 2A friendly?
No, $10.95 per month. They charge a one-time sign-up fee of $19.95, $10.95 every month thereafter. There's add-ons that you can get for family members. You can have all your children get the same protection you do for an extra like $2 or $2.95 a month. And then there's a multi-state protection also. So if you want to get it out of your state, because where you sign up, that's where your coverage will be. So for instance, I would be in Georgia. If I wanted to leave the state, I can get multi-state coverage. And one of the things that I liked about US Law Shield is that once you get the app on the phone, you can just swipe a tab and add the coverage. And then if you didn't want to keep the coverage, you swipe it right off. So if you didn't want to keep the I'm not that bright, so I just keep the multi-state coverage on there. But if you didn't want to spend the money and you're going to Florida from Georgia or something like that, you could just swipe it on, go to Florida, swipe it off when you come back. It's really simple to do.
That's nice.
That's a handy. I like that idea where I can add the coverage, multi-state coverage, when I need it, and remove it when I don't need it anymore.
Yes,
So,
very true. Because when we go to Tennessee to meet up, I mean, I'm going through Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
I live in Ohio, so I'm going to Kentucky, then Tennessee, so I could add those two states. And then when I come back, I can take them back off.
So they do
What
have
about
bail coverage.
bail
They
coverage?
do have one of the add-ons that they have is bail coverage. Again, I think it's like $2 a month or something like that. But with that comes expert witness protection too. So they pay your bail up to $50,000 as quickly as humanly possible. And also with that, they get expert witness coverage where they'll pay for any and all expert witnesses like ballistics experts, medical experts, self-defense experts. That'll come with that as well. So they will cover any legal weapon. So if you have an illegal weapon, could be a handgun, a knife, pepper spray, a frying pan, just about anything.
They'll cover a frying pan.
They will, as long as it's a legal weapon. So if you're possessed, if you have legally possessed a handgun in that state, they will cover you. So a frying pan, yes. Your fist, if you get in a fist fight, that's why I like it, because I was speaking to the attorney Matt the other day. Do you know that pepper spray is actually considered deadly force in Georgia?
So if I get hangry with a fork on somebody, I'm covered.
You're covered, absolutely. Yeah.
Man, Denny's beware.
So yeah.
I think they take care of stuff in the house, Curtis. But I don't know. We'll ask him.
It
Can
depends
he-
on what state. I can look up to see what attorneys are covered.
He'll be in Michigan.
I can look up the attorney. But they only use, and another thing that they do, they only use people who specialize in self-defense defense. So they're going to get criminal defense attorneys that specialize, such as in Matt's case. He pretty much only does firearms.
Well, I knew everybody would be interested, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here with us tonight. And guys, listen, uh, Sean's just down the road. I got his number and email, and he's got mine. So if there's anything I can do to get you in touch with Sean, let me know. If you want to just go to that website and find an agent that's closer to you in your state, that might be what you need to do. But one thing I have learned uh, as I've been studying into this is uh, we have a friend who used to be on a lot of live streams with us who is a Texas Law Shield agent. He works for Texas Law Shield, and then we found out that, well, he told us that Texas Law Shield and U.S. Law Shield is the same thing. So in your state, it may be Ohio Law Shield or Georgia Law Shield or whatever, but you can find it at U.S. Law Shield. Uh,
If they get in touch with me, I'll give them a code that'll give them a priority membership, so their price, that 1095, will never change.
Wow, that's great, Sean.
Yes, thank you. Because I'm going to sign up for this.
Yeah, I think I am too. I think you got me convinced.
especially at that price. Yeah, when you get serious, they just make fun of you to your face, man.
Nobody likes my bike.
I love you, Curtis. There ain't nothing you can do about it, brother. Yeah, there's Bearded Lunchbox. What's going on? He got here just in time to say goodnight. And that's another thing Sean and I were talking about, Walks, is there's some states that self-defense insurance is illegal.
So it's illegal to it's not authorized to be sold in that state, but we will cover you in that state if you purchase. So I can't go to Washington State and sell U.S. Law Shield, but if a U.S. Law Shield member wanders into Washington State with a legal weapon and gets into trouble, we are going to cover them in that state.
Do that, A&A. Big Al wants me to send you his contact information and have you call him on Monday. So that's cool. And we've got to clear the deck. We're running overtime here. I want to thank Sean for being here. We're excited to help get you started in reloading. We're excited to have you on and talk about protecting ourselves as we go about our daily lives. So that's fun. Who wants to start? Mark Thomas, you want to go first? What you going to do this week, man?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is unmute myself. Uh, well, let me start off. Thanks for having me. It's always wonderful. Learned quite a bit this evening, and thanks to the side chat, they've been rocking, doing great. I hope if I get some new molds tomorrow, maybe I'll do a little bit of casting on Sunday. I do have some 32 bullets that I cast last weekend that I want to do some powder coating on, so I can send a few of those out to a friend. And I don't know if I'm going to get out to do any hunting this week. We'll see. I'm getting up tomorrow morning and heading out with my son. He's got the last part of his second dawn black belt test. He's got to run his 2 miles, do his push-ups and sit-ups, and the last bit of forms testing, and he will be a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So that we're looking forward to.
Very good. Very good. We're glad you were here tonight, man.
Well, glad I could be here and no echo. This
And
works.
congrats on the new addition to the family.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. I'm in the same boat, man. I've not had mine that long, so yeah, we'll talk.
Oh, we will.
Mark and I have so many of the same or similar guns: 35 Remington, 44 mag. I know, MCK. I'm trying, buddy. Hillbilly up. Didn't hear much from you tonight, but I'm glad you were here.
Yeah, man, I was soaking all this in, writing stuff down. It was a great show. I enjoyed it very much. Learned a lot. I mean, everything you guys was telling Sean, I was keeping notes on all that, and really appreciate what all Sean had to share. It was awesome. I mean, great information night, a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Great panel, rocking side chat. Just been a blast all night. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you,
and
man.
yeah, and don't forget tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. We got a live show on my channel, Hillbilly Up, Guns, Beer, and Therapy. So if you get a chance, jump over and visit with us. We'll have a good time on there. And don't forget to go check out that video I just posted. I got some more coming up, but go in there and it involves Jamie and Georgia Shooting Connection. So get on there and check it out.
We appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. It's always fun. And Walter, keep those hands out of your pockets. You'll get arrested for concealed weapons, buddy.
So, you guys that have not been to Hillbilly's live stream on Saturday night, beer, guns, and therapy. Guns, beer, and
therapy, but however you want to say it, you betcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And A admitted he fell asleep. All right. I'll try to do better, buddy. We got to do better. Walter, thanks for being here, brother. You got anything coming up this week?
Oh, yeah, sure. But first of all, boy, I'm proud and happy to be here both. I thank you for the invitation, as always, to participate in this channel. And Jamie, before I go any further, again, thank you for sending me that mold, brother. That was over and above. The side chat tonight was rocking and rolling and carrying the discussion, going up notches all over the place. It was great tonight. I really enjoyed meeting Sean here. We got a lot of useful information all the way around the board tonight. It was just fantastic. I thought I got a couple things going on. As some of you know and have figured out, I'm in YouTube jail again, which means I can't post anything for another couple weeks because I showed a mold. Didn't do any casting, and I just showed a mold, and they said. So anyway, but everything's still rocking and rolling on my Rumble channel, and if you even go into Google and put in hashtag Moldy Monday, all one word, I'll come up. It's all over my Rumble channel. So I've got a new Moldy Monday that'll be coming out on next Monday, and that's going to be a 44 Russian load with a mold that I had never cast before. And also later next week will be the next edition of the Henrys and Handguns series, part 2. And that's going to be with the 357 Henry rifle and a Cimarron single action army pistol in 38 357. So that's what I got coming up. Lots more casting and reloading and etc. I got a new firearm in the house today, and I'm keeping my mouth shut about what it is, but it's one that I only have one of. So.
But you're going to tell us in the after chat, though, right?
It's a 38 Super.
Hey, Walter, you think you can rebrand those molds and just tell YouTube they're fish and sinker molds?
Oh, we tried that.
Difference?
No, that's already been tried. It don't work. Trust me. It's just, we roll with the punches and keep coming back up. They can only keep a guy down so long, and we got to come up and breathe, and we'll keep doing it.
Curtis says if you had U.S. Law Shield, they would bail you out of YouTube jail.
Yeah, their bars are pretty thick. I don't even get conjugal visits this time, man, guys. I'm done for.
I don't know. I think you got screwed pretty well.
Will
Actually-
not follow that up, Mark Thomas. All I
Not-
can say to you, Mark Thomas, is do not order a Lyman 429421. I'm going to send you one. I got multiples of it, and they're taking up space, so I'll send one to you.
Well, thank you.
Mine's
How
a
many
single
extra do you
cavity,
have?
and mine's a single cavity, and it's my favorite. I'm just saying.
That's a good one. That's what he's going to get.
Yeah. So, Mr. Sean, thanks for being here. Looks like you made a splash in your debut, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I
Good.
learned a lot, man. I'm ready for the next time.
Cool.
I want to go over this bad boy.
What you got?
Caliber.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. We'll figure that out for you. So we'll talk about it next week. See if you can come back.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And if any of y'all going to be around, where am I going to be? Main Street Guns in Wilburn on Monday afternoon. Stop by.
Cool. Yeah, you'll have to send me that address. I might show up. So that's what Sean will be doing. Maybe we can get him back on. So thanks again for being here, man. And don't leave after the chat. We'll hang around and talk for a few minutes afterwards. And I need to send you information for Big Al. You can call him Monday. And thanks again for being here. Let's move on to Mr. Hot Pot, Mr. Gene, see what he's got coming up this week.
Well, I got a couple videos coming out. I got to go this weekend and make a couple other videos I'm behind on. Other than that, man, great being on here. Thanks for having me on, Jamie. I really appreciate it. Sean, really nice to meet you. It's been a great informational series as always. I love my schooling. Great side chat out there, man. It's just nice being here. But always remember to live, love, laugh, and reload.
Amen.
And keep blowing the smoke.
Thanks, Gene. We appreciate your help, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Kyle Lusk, what's going on, buddy? You going to do anything this week?
I have just casted up and powder coated a bunch of 44 Magnum bullets, and I'm gonna start dipping into this heavy pistol powder from Shooter's World that we got, and load all that up. And then I have my youngest son's graduation from high school next Friday.
Woo-wee.
Yeah. Gonna take care of that. Got a lot of stuff going on. Jamie, you would not recognize the house when you got here.
Hopefully I'll be down tomorrow or Sunday afternoon, and we'll fill up this box for Andy and get that on the way, because I know he needs that zinc with the stuff he's got going on. He's got to be running out. So,
Well, as long as he needs some wood chips to go with it.
well, we might just burn the wood chips, if you know what I mean.
I bought a new smoker. I got a fire pit for the backyard.
Very cool.
Yeah, my buddy from Las Vegas, he's headed back now. He called me from Oklahoma. He said, just letting you know I'm on the way. Because he went up to his sister in Illinois. So, I mean, he's been a world traveler. But my buddy Rob's gone. And it was a blessing to have him here and for him to meet my friends. But he's on the way back. Angel's at her nephew's graduation right now. Should be back. I can't believe she's not back yet, but yeah, I got some 44 cast and coated. Going to get them loaded up, and maybe me and her can run out to the range on Sunday when she's off. I'm not sure, but if we do, I'll be sure to make a video on it.
Very nice. So we had Tin Man out there for a little while. Y'all say hey to Tin Man.
Hello,
He's
man.
bowing out. And so we got to clear the way for Mr. Gizzard Gary, and we're running overtime. CW, what do you got coming up? I know you have plans.
Yeah, I'll have to make it a surprise. Just be a surprise.
Uh-oh.
No! I like to know what to expect and when to expect it, because so much of the time, as many of you guys' videos as I watch, and I still make comments and all that, I still don't get notifications sometimes, and I don't want to miss anything important. So
I have inside intel, and tomorrow CW is going to cast, load, and shoot some 9mm round nose out of a 1911, and then the sun's going to rise in the west.
That will never happen.
Wow.
and Satan said the temperature there is minus 10 degrees.
I keep getting unsubscribed to all you people.
So yeah, we all deal with that, Kyle. So y'all keep an eye out for CW stuff. It's always good, informative videos. And just before we go off CW, I ordered a bunch of, we'll talk about it in after chat, but I ordered a bunch of NOE expanders yesterday. So I got those on the way. And, but I want to thank all you guys. I want to thank the panel for being here, making it a great experience for our viewers and you guys on the side chat. Man, there was over 60 of y'all most of the night, so we're humbled and overwhelmed, and so pleased that y'all at least act like you're enjoying what we're trying to do here. And the Scotsman has done the Weasel thing. He's started a 1,000 subscriber drive for my channel, and there's going to be a giveaway, and some more folks have already jumped in, adding prizes in, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as a prize for 1,000. So, guys, we're overwhelmed. Thank you so much. Next week, we're going to be talking about the differences between pistol and bottleneck. And that'll probably take, 6.5 minutes?
But we can do 4440.
Yeah.
We'll do
Yeah.
two birds with one stone.
3840.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about 458 Casole?
That's straight walled.
That's straight walled. My mind's melting already. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Get over and watch Gizzard Gary. I'm sure he's already started. Check out Hillbilly Up tomorrow night
Good
at
thumbs
10.
up. Subscribe to this channel.
Thank you.
This channel is way too low on subscribers, guys. I mean, for such a good channel. Share it,
James,
please.
Thank you so
Everybody
much.
in the side chat. Have a good night.
And James Pugh got a new video up. I got a couple in mind I hope to get out this week. We hope the Lord blesses you all real good. And if he's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.